Hey Ben, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. It's great to have you on the show, and thank you. I'm honored that you're here. I came across your interview last week on the HR podcast with Kyle Rode and was fascinated to hear your perspective on mindset, on achieving goals, and I thought it would be really useful for my Spanish speaking audience to have you on the show. How's your Spanish?
Let's see. Muy bien.
Maybe, yeah, but listen, we're going to have the conversation in English, so I won't put you under any more pressure. But tell us a little bit about you, Ben, your history a little bit, what brings you to where you are at the moment.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So I used to be an HR executive, and part of my story was, I loved HR and I thought that was the path to success, was to do what the world said and go to school, get your degree, start as an intern and grow with the corporate ladder, right? And so I did.
Hmm.
I got the bachelor's and master's in human resources. I even went on to get the nationally senior certified professional in HR. And on the education level, I was like, all right, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be successful. And then with the corporate world, started as an HR intern, and I helped grow this particular company from fewer than 75 employees to almost 2,000 employees in 5 countries, 33 states in the US, and we were doing extremely well. And so I was the HR executive there in my 20s. And so, by all definitions of the world, I had achieved success. And at times it was feeling very good. But then there
Hmm.
was one moment where my boss, the CEO, came to me one day and said, Ben, we have nothing against you. We just hate HR. And I'm like, well, I'm HR and I've spent the last few years of my life dedicating myself to building that identity as an HR professional because I thought that was success. So when he told me that, my brain that had said, well, this is the path to success, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, now said, what am I supposed to do now?
Hmm.
I've climbed the ladder. I've done the definition of success, so what's left? And it really had a hit to my identity, and therefore it affected everything else in my life because up until then, that was what I understood was the path, right? But after that, it's like, what do I do? And so I turned to things to try to feel better, even in the world of addiction, which is what a lot of us do, whether it's an addiction or a coping mechanism, because we think this is success, this is the definition of success, and if I have it, cool, I'm a good person and I'm successful. But if I don't have that particular result, then I feel like a terrible person and I don't know how to handle it because the image that I've built up is somebody who's supposed to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I can't admit that I don't know the answers anymore.
Mm. And
And
this
it
was in
turns
your
out,
20s. This was in your 20s,
yeah.
this kind of this realization, this change. Wow. Right. That's
And it's
fascinating.
interesting because
So,
as I went through my journey, I, went through therapy and went through coaching and did a lot of personal development work to remind myself that I'm not a terrible person just because somebody hates HR.
sure.
And because that experience had changed how I saw myself at the moment, I had to change how I saw myself again and remind myself, just like I said, that I'm not a terrible person, that I can provide a lot of value, that all of my successes that I've had up till then aren't deleted just because of one person's opinion or
Yeah.
because a new definition of success comes up. And it was interesting because after I went through that discovery through therapy and coaching and everything else, I turned to my fellow professionals and I said, hey guys, have you ever felt like this? Have you ever felt the imposter syndrome, the you're not good enough, you're the necessary evil? And they said, bro, we all feel like this. The
Yeah.
problem is nobody talks about it.
You've said something there, Ben, that's really resonated with me in a big way that we all feel like this, but nobody talks about it, and that element of the it's almost like the masks we wear. We sort of have a mask for our spouse, we have a mask for our kids, we have a mask when
Mhm.
we're out saying hello to everybody, but the sort of core fundamentals of us and how we're feeling as humans, which is more important than ever in these days of artificial intelligence. There's a core that's the same with us all. We have similar fears, we have similar preoccupations. We attach so much to us to this identity, as you said. Words like success, like what does that even mean with people? You know,
Yeah.
and what sparked in my mind there is this nobody talks about it, you know. We're all going through the world with this kind of like, I'm okay, you know, look at me, the social media posts, everything's all polished to perfection, you know. And therefore there's a comparison that comes with that is if I can't be as good as them, or in the case of my clients, if I can't speak English to the same level as them, I'd rather stay quiet and not say anything at all, you know.
Right.
And that concept of, as you said, self-awareness, self-coaching, therapy, you know, getting to work on the actual core. Like, how have you done that, Ben? Like, so let's just take things back a little bit to when this change happened for you and you started searching for help. What sort of tools were you given? What were you sort of learning about yourself in the beginning of the therapy journey?
Before I answer that, I'm going to share two stories. Is that okay? Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's think about elementary school or just any school, right? Because society teaches us to chase results. And as you were mentioning with social media, even speaking English or Spanish or whatever that we're trying to achieve, we attach so much meaning and so much definition to that result. And society has taught us that we define our identity based on our results. So if you think about school, right? The result that you're supposed to get at school is what? Good grades. And if you get good grades, what does that mean about you as a person? People say, oh, well, it means you're smart. It means you're capable. It means you're an A student. See how we said that? You're an A student. You don't get
Yeah.
A's, you're an A student, right?
Yeah.
But watch what happens. If you get an F grade, what does that mean about you? People automatically say, well, it means you're a failure.
Mm,
Does it? An F grade means a failing grade. And yet we quickly, and I do this all over the world in my speaking. I do this exercise with people and ask them, and they all say, yeah, it means you're a failure. So we all have interpreted results to give us an identity statement.
mm,
If I have the result, I'm a good person. If I don't have the result, I'm a terrible person. And it's
yeah.
so fast. But as you'll learn from my Eden model, there's a lot of layers between result and identity, and we can't ignore them. We can't ignore the emotions, the thoughts, or the stories that we tell ourselves and the beliefs that we have, because that's where, if we do the work appropriately, then we don't define ourselves based on the result. Let me give you one more example relating to Spanish, actually.
Sure.
So in high
Oh, great.
school, I studied Spanish,
Maybe yeah.
and I was, a person who I always wanted to do well at whatever I did, which means, hey, if I could avoid making mistakes, at least publicly, so that I would look like, oh wow, Ben's got it. He's just so good. He's always on top of things, right? Because that feels good. And so in Spanish class, I remember me and a friend. My friend would speak Spanish all the time, and he was terrible. He would mess up the words. He would not have the right conjugation. I mean, things were happening, right? And
Yeah.
me, I was very studious on the grammar, and I knew what you were supposed to say, but I wouldn't say it because I wanted to be really good at it before I spoke, right? But what happened is after the year of Spanish class, guess who was the better Spanish speaker? My
Your
friend
friend.
was.
Sure.
Yeah. I understood it pretty darn well, but because I hadn't taken those courageous steps to just do it and get through the mistakes, my friend was a lot further ahead, right?
Mm,
And so I learned a lot of lessons with this. First of all, there's a mindset aspect. And if you think,
yeah.
well, no matter what, I'm going to make, say, 5,000 mistakes, I get to decide if I'm going to make them in the next 2 months or in the next 2 years. It depends on how quickly I just want to get there. And guess
Yeah.
what? Everybody is striving to achieve. Everybody is striving to become better. See my quotation marks, right?
Sure.
Become
Sure.
better because we attach this, well, I have to speak Spanish or I have to speak this new language, otherwise I'm not good enough. I
Mm,
know that's a common thought for all of us.
yeah. No,
But
totally.
if we can get through those, then the people who watch us, they can either, sure, some might judge us, but who cares? I mean, they're going through their
Yeah.
own insecurities, and that's why they're judging you. Otherwise, there are people who say, wow, I wish I could be like you, to have the courage to speak a foreign language, a language that's not your first. And that's incredible.
Mm, mm,
It's very interesting. Us as high achievers, we're used to achieving, we're used to high levels of success. And when people hear our story, it's often like, wow, you've achieved a lot. You're amazing. You're an incredible person. And we think, okay, thanks. But since we're high achievers, we quickly finish something and look to the next, right?
Mm.
What am I doing next? What am I doing next? And if, for example, we're learning a new language, we often forget or discount our progress. We forget that 7 weeks ago we hardly spoke a lick of this new language.
Mm.
And now that
Yeah.
our grammar and our vocabularies come along pretty well, we're like, well, okay, that's good. I'm glad I'm finally here, but there's so much left to do. So here's back to your question. What are tools and how we can get through this? Number one is what are we focusing on? Are you focusing on your progress or are you focusing on what is left to do?
Right.
Because this is something that I help my clients with all the time, and I'll just give you this example. Let's talk about 10 tasks. I'm
Yeah.
just going to use the example of push-ups, okay?
Right.
If you're somebody who's trying to work out and trying to build up the number of push-ups that you do, and last week you struggled to do 20 push-ups, and you had a goal to do 30 push-ups, here's how you can see it. This week, you work hard, you get up to 29 push-ups.
Mm.
Is that a failure because you didn't meet your goal of 30 push-ups? I
Right.
guess. I guess you can interpret it that way. Or you can say to yourself, you did 29 push-ups when last week you could only do 20. That's almost a 50% increase. That's
Mm.
amazing. If a business was to increase by 50%, wouldn't everybody be excited? So why don't we treat ourselves the same way? The progress is progress no matter the size. And when you can focus on that, then number one, your brain interprets it as success, which according to our old model, well, if I get the successful result, then I'm a successful person. Okay, sure, you can use that.
Yeah.
But here's the cool thing with the Eden model, it comes down to flipping it. So you don't have to learn something brand new. You're already doing this in this
Mm.
example of, hey, I did a successful result, so therefore I'm successful. But you flip
Mm.
it and you say, I'm already successful first. And if
Right.
I'm a successful person first, then what would I do? What would I believe? What would I think? And as you do
Mm.
it in that order, all of a sudden the results start to come to you. Why? Because you're doing the right things. But it makes
Yeah.
all the difference because you've made that belief and that mindset shift first. Otherwise,
Mm.
we live in this inner critic, this imposter syndrome world as we strive for the results. And that's why we always focus on, oh, well, that wasn't good enough. Oh, well, I can't do that because what will they think of me? Right? But
Mm.
if, and again, I know I'm getting a little bit repetitive, but this is so important. If we first say to ourselves, what would that person do who has already achieved the result that I'm looking for?
Mm.
And put yourself in that place. In other words, you say, okay, great. What am I striving for? Well, I want to speak English. Okay, great. Put yourself 3 months from now and imagine that person speaking English.
Mm.
Who is that person? How does it make you feel? What does that person believe? And the power of the mind is that you can do that now. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, says Napoleon Hill, right?
Sure. Sure.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And so if you can visualize it, and feel it today, then your brain doesn't know the
Mm.
difference that it's not, exactly happening in the moment. It thinks it is. It thinks you're
Yeah.
already there. And if you can start in that place of, oh, I've already made it, so let me just continue to do the steps, all of a sudden you're not focused on the imposter syndrome. You're thinking, hey, I'm already there. This
Yeah.
speaking English thing is cool, and I'm just going to do it with other fellow English speakers. And we're going to focus on what we have in common and not what we have different.
That's an awesome way of putting it, Ben. And those stories you've just said there encapsulate, first of all, you've answered the question in a depth that I was not expecting. So thank you for that and sharing it in those storytelling ways. And I think you've actually pointed out to me a way that it's a kind of a method I use with my clients as well. That sort of future, imagining yourself in the future and what you need to get there. But I've also recently discovered something totally by accident, actually, about letting my clients realize how far they've come already with their English. And that
Right.
was a few weeks ago. I came home from the pub. we say the pub in England. It's not really a pubs in Spain, but anyway, I came home and I saw on the TV Shawshank Redemption, right? The film Shawshank Redemption was on. And I've seen that so many times, Ben, as growing through my 20s and stuff. I just love that movie. I could recite it for you. I absolutely love that film. And it was on the TV in Spanish. And there's a system you can change the language really easily. You can flip the language. It wasn't on Netflix, it was on TV. And for some
Wow.
reason, this changing of language wouldn't work. It wasn't working. And so I was watching it in Spanish and I could understand it. And because I know the script so well off by heart anyway, I was listening to it coming through in English, in Spanish, and I'm thinking, okay, that's. And then I had this thought in my mind that was, Richard, imagine you could go back to your 20-year-old self when you first saw this movie. Right? Imagine you could say to yourself, you know what? One day you will understand that in another language, Richard. You'll speak another language to a
Mm.
point where you can understand this movie without subtitles, without anything. Because I only started learning Spanish at the age of 34 when some serendipitous meeting of this most beautiful person in the world who I'm now married to, Monica, in a bar in London. And we started our life together and we moved to Spain 10 years ago. But to start learning a language at that age when the mind is so sort of solidly set, it's been a very, very challenging thing for me. But I never thought I could speak another language. When I used to watch films and TV shows like James Bond, cool characters in a casino in Las Vegas, switching from French to Arabic to Italian, I'm like, how clever must you have to be to memorize all those thousands of words and then put them in the right order without reading it? Like, how clever must you have to be? And I was in this situation watching Shawshank in another language, and I'm thinking, this is the way that I can help my clients realize how far they've come. This is the way that I can play them a clip of Forrest Gump or an old episode of Friends or something they haven't seen for 20 years and say, look, your English is it's great. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
look how far you've come. And so I've been starting doing that in my posts now. I've been sort of playing little clips of A-Team and stuff and in different languages, and it's been a really successful thing. But some of the things you said there, some of the words you used, I've got to just go back and because I wrote them down, this identity, this and success. Why, Ben, do you think we identify ourselves with what we're doing and what we have and the image we portray to the world? Why do we do that?
A lot of reasons. I'll go with two of them. And it all comes from societal programming, right? The world that we live in. It could come from your parents. And it's not that they did anything on purpose or wrong, right? But if they go to you and say, "Hey, Richard, have you cleaned your room? Have you done the dishes? Have you finished your chores?" And if not, they're going to be what? Probably upset at you. And I say,
Mm,
"Richard, come on. You got to be obedient. You got to be this, that, and the other. You got to listen to your parents."
mm,
So that's natural to do as a parent. Say, hey, chores are important. It teaches responsibility. It keeps the house clean and everything else. It's a noble thing to strive to do. Like I'm not saying anything they did is wrong, but
mm,
sometimes we interpret that to mean for my parents to love me or to be happy with me, which we interpret, if they're happy, then they love me, and if they love me, I'm a good person, right? I need to finish my chores, the dishes, clean my room, and everything else. So I have to do something, get a result in order to feel loved. That's one example.
yeah, sure.
And then society jumps right on it and it says, well, when you get your degree from college, we can celebrate you. But
Mm,
what about the 4 years before that? Nobody talks about you. You're just a student. And social media. Okay, well, we'll celebrate you when you're in your Ferrari or when you've built your business or when you have this many followers, when you have some sort of visible, tangible result that you can share. Then we'll
mm,
celebrate you. But until
mm.
then, why would I pay attention to you? Is what the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
says. So those are two huge reasons that even though maybe somebody doesn't say it point blank and say, Richard, this is how people are going to treat you, that's how we assume it is. Because
Mm,
again, just using social media because it's so common for everybody, you see people at their best on social media.
Yeah.
And our brain wants to feel a certain way. That is super important to us. Everything we do is based on an emotional need. And when we see somebody on social media who seems super happy, our brain automatically says, what do I need to do to feel that? And then we look at their accomplishments. Oh, well, they started a business and they're doing super well. Oh, they learned English and they're speaking super well. So I have to do that in order to feel good. That's what our brain says because it's been trained that way.
Mm.
But here's the truth of the matter. The stories that we know exist, but we don't often focus on. Everybody has those stories of how did you get to this point? The stories of the sleepless night, the stories that they cry themselves to sleep, the stories of this is never going to work, I'm not good enough, and all those things.
Mm.
All those things are the pictures that they don't share on social media, but every
Mm.
single one of them has that experience. And that's where I'll have to share an image of the Eden model with you that you can share with your listeners.
I'm going to put it in this. It'll be in the show notes for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect. Because
Yeah.
then they can look at it and they can see how important identity is first. That is the foundation of everything. The world
Yeah.
teaches you to do it opposite and say results are everything and everything is dependent upon it. And yes, we've been trained that way.
Just for the benefit of our listeners, Ben, could you quickly, concisely just frame what the Eden model is?
Absolutely. So, yeah, you can look at the image as I'm speaking. So you have results at the top, behaviors underneath it, then emotions, thoughts, beliefs, and identity. But it's in a pyramid. Okay. So the results, yes, are at the top because that's what a pyramid is, but the results are small. The identity is at the base, and that's big. And that's super important. The world teaches that it's exactly the opposite, that the results are the biggest and your identity is tiny. But when you flip it to the correct Eden model, where the results, yes, they're still important. Yes, they still have a place, right? It's fun to accomplish. It's fun to progress and to learn new things and say a new language, right? And
Mm.
that gives us a focus. Well, what do I want to do? But the identity is most important. So let me just take you through the model for a second. Let's use learning English as an example. The result is you want to speak English. Cool. And it helps to clarify what that is. And I'm sure you teach that as well, Richard, saying, okay, in 3 months, what does it actually look like? Because if we don't
Yeah.
define it, then we're just always on the journey and there's never a finish line. And then you're never happy. In fact, one example coming to my mind is a friend of mine was learning Chinese, actually. And his goal was, hey, my goal is to learn Chinese, but nothing more specific than that. So his action was, well, I'm just going to learn, say, 10 new words of Chinese every day. Okay, good for you. But when's the end? How do you know when you made it?
Exactly.
And so a person told him, well, why don't you make this goal that in 3 months you will give a presentation in Chinese, a 10-minute presentation. Oh, wow. Okay, that gives me some specifics of something to work towards. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's the example of a specific result. But
Mm.
let's take that particular example, actually. The result is to speak, and I'll turn it back to English, right? The result is to speak English. What does that actually look like? Okay, 3 months, I want to have this particular conversation in English. Great. So, what behaviors do you focus on? Well, the list can go on forever. There's a million ways to learn English. So, you choose a few that you're going to do for yourself. And if they're working, the emotions that you feel are going to be those of excitement. Hey, this is cool. Richard taught me this. I learned this from a book. This podcast, this app is helping me learn English. Awesome. The behavior's working. I feel good. And if you're feeling good, the thoughts are, wow, this is going to work. This is going to be amazing. I'm excited. And the beliefs are, oh man, this is possible. And because you feel it's possible, how do you feel about yourself? You think, I can do this. So in that realm, it's awesome. But let's think about when it doesn't work. And this is where the true discovery comes. The result is I want to speak English, say in 3 months. I want to have this conversation in 3 months. I'm doing the same behaviors, but
Mm.
now they're not working or they seem to not be working.
No.
So now how do you feel? Well, you feel disappointed, discouraged, and start to feel afraid. Because then your thoughts are like, oh man, I don't know if this is ever going to work. Is this going to work?
Mm.
Am I capable of this? Then you start to question yourself. You start to question the process. Man, English is too hard anyway. That's for other people. And you start to define yourself as, well, I guess this English thing wasn't for me. And you forget about all your other successes. You might have started a business, you might have done all sorts of things, and people look at you and say, you're the most amazing person in the world. But because we're focusing on this new result, we again define ourselves as, well, I guess I'm not good enough.
Mm.
But using the Eden model, I took you through both experiences of the model in the wrong direction, the one the world teaches us, right? Because results
Right.
are paramount. But watch what
Yeah.
happens when you use the Eden model in the correct direction.
Okay.
I want to learn English. Okay, great. 3 months, I want to have this conversation. Great.
Just before, as you do this, put our client in this story. So
Yes.
my client comes to you, Ben. They're a COO, a CFO, they're a boss of some kind. They know what it means to achieve. They've got a team around them that respects them in Spanish. And
Yes.
in 3 months after working with you and they want to hold the attention of a Zoom call meeting where there's native English speakers there or people from Germany or Portugal or places where they think that those people are a lot better than them. So they're essentially their outcome for this, their tangible goal is to lead and hold their own in English the same way that they do in Spanish without worrying about making mistakes. That's the ideal sort of place they want to get to. So let's take that client. How do you help them?
Yeah. So this is important. I'm glad you brought that up because what you were saying is to hold their own and to present in a certain way. You're talking about emotions related to identity.
Mm,
Because again, everything we're striving for is we want to feel a certain way, no matter what the result is. I want to
mm.
be able to speak to these people so that I feel this way. I want to learn English so I feel this way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the truth of the matter. And if we can understand that, then it helps us define not only the result, but it helps us focus on who we need to become. Here's
Okay.
what's super important. And I'm going to do a tangent to tell you a story, and then we'll come back to this example.
Perfect.
So I'm a professional speaker, and I've been on this journey for about 5 years now, full time. And it's so interesting how this process repeats itself over and over and over. I teach the Eden model. I created the Eden model, so I understand how it works.
Mm,
And yet, because so much programming and because there are negative voices and positive voices trying to, help you along, I get on these different stages and the stages get bigger and bigger. And just this week, I was on a national stage and it was to my people, HR. So, so in some ways, I'm going to give quotation marks again. I should have felt a certain way. Hey, these are my people. I've been progressing. I'm on this big stage. I've been looking to get on this stage for many years. It's exciting. And so again, quotation marks, I should have felt at home.
mm.
But of course, I'm thinking, wow, this is a new result. This is an important result. Now the stakes are even higher. I
Mhm.
want to feel like I'm a successful professional speaker and I want to perform a certain way. And that has a certain definition, right? But here's something that I learned from a Hall of Fame speaker. So one of the best of the best. He said, if you're nervous before you speak, that's because you still think it's about you.
Okay.
But when you
Mm,
can remember that it's about your people, about the people you're talking to, you'll be excited. And
mm.
here's what's awesome. There's a lot of things that we can learn from that example. But when you think it's about you, you are focused on the result. You're looking through the lens of the result to you and say, I have to have a good result for me to look good.
Mm.
But if we think of it just like this Hall of Fame speaker taught, if we think it's about you, Richard, it's about the people that I'm talking to, then all I do is focus on what I need to do to help you. Okay.
Right.
And so in this English example, if I want to be able to lead a meeting with people who know something about my background, then they're already going to think, wow, this person's pretty darn impressive. You don't have to convince them that you're successful. You don't have to convince them of a certain identity of yours because when you focus on them, they're always talking through their own stories. And so when you can focus on them, they will feel that they are important. And if you can make them feel important, even in a business meeting, even when you're sharing numbers and you're trying to motivate people, if you can make them feel important, then they won't see you as, wow, he just doesn't know his English. They'll see it as,
Okay.
oh my goodness, he makes me feel important. Okay. And you'll probably be more confident in speaking the language anyway, because you're not focusing on the words and the grammar and the order and the syntax and everything else. You're just saying, you know what? I've studied, and starting with identity, I am a successful English speaker.
Mm,
I care about the people that I'm talking to, and I know that by using this language, I can help more people in a different way.
right.
Wow. How does that
Mm,
feel if you're saying that out loud? I mean,
that
it
is,
feels great just me saying it right now. And if you can put yourself in that place of believing that, then you stand in a place of confidence and you show up and you say, Richard, yep, I'm going to speak your language and I want to help you in this way. And let's talk through it.
it's amazing, Ben, and that's a really good way of framing it. And I just have a question. So, say I'm this client, I've come to you, and in 3 months, you're going to help me lead these meetings. You're going to help me do presentations. You're going to help me feel internally like I'm helping people. I don't care really about minor little mistakes, whether I say depends of or depends on or at the end or in the end. These little errores pequeñitos, you're going to help me get over that. You're going to help me feel it's all right. The most important thing is communication. Lo importante es comunicarse. If I can get my message to these people and I'm understood and I can understand what's coming back, that's the main goal. However, Ben, right now, today, day one of the coaching, I'm petrified of making mistakes. I think that everyone else in the meeting's better than me. And why are they looking at me like that? Are they judging me? Am I stupid? Do they think I'm stupid? Like what? I don't want to make mistakes because I've been through a schooling system that values results. I had to get a 9 and 10 out of 10 when I was growing up. God, I'm a CEO, man. I've had my own business. I've got 300 employees. I am super successful. I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want you to tell me it's all right to make mistakes. That's not for me. How do I help this person?
This is a great example. And thank you for bringing it up because this is common, it's vulnerable, it's honest,
Yeah,
um, and it exists with a lot of us, right? Have a history of success, and now we feel like because we're successful, we can't make mistakes, at least publicly. And now we're doing something very public. And I can succeed on the computer on the Excel spreadsheet and be amazing, but now, man, now you want me to speak a foreign language in front of you, and it's your language, you know better than me. And yeah, I
yeah.
get it. The
I'm
thoughts are
saying
real.
hello. I'm saying hello and Halloween, and I can't stop that. It's the way I speak. I don't like my accent. I'm ashamed of my accent.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. Go on. Yeah. What do I do?
So, yeah, again, what happens is now I'm going to tell you two things, two perspectives. Number one
Mm,
is the key of what we need to do, and then number two is kind of a coaching technique that we do. Number
okay.
one, we're noticing that the words you use are very focused on what will they think of me? What do I need to do?
Yeah,
That was the phrasing you used.
sure.
And the words we use show the thoughts that we have in our mind.
Yeah.
And then they reveal the beliefs we have about the situation and the beliefs that we have about ourselves.
Mm,
So that's important. And so when we realize this, then we say, okay, what needs to shift? Because we can pound it to death and we can say, no, 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 it's fine to make mistakes. But then the brain says, no, it's not. No, it's not. Because we've attached mistakes with failure, and I don't want to be a failure, right? So if we harp on that, it's probably not going to be very successful. We flip it and we change how we talk to ourselves and how we talk about ourselves. So instead of, what will they think of me? What do I need to do? Again, you focus on who do you need to be or how do you need to be.
okay.
Put yourself in the situation of already having achieved it. Okay.
Right.
So 3 months from now, this meeting that we're talking about, I want you to imagine yourself, you just finished that meeting. You're done. You're walking out of that door, you're closing the Zoom meeting, whatever it is, and it went extremely well. Tell me more about it. Now let's keep this going. So you tell me about this successful meeting. How did it go?
Well, everybody was looking and nodding along. which felt great. You know, I could tell I was being understood. And sometimes I felt that I'd said some prepositions in the wrong order, and I failed to pronounce certain things in a certain way. And some people asked me to repeat myself, but I felt that they asked me to repeat myself, not necessarily because I'd said it wrong, but more for clarity of making sure they'd understood the point I was making rather than me and my problem with my English. So it felt amazing, you know, it felt great.
Good. Yes. So we're going to lock onto that emotion that you just shared. It felt amazing. It felt great.
Mm.
Even though there was an aspect of, okay, sure, I might have said some things wrong, and maybe somebody asked me a question, but again, how did they react to it? They weren't judging. They're saying, hey, can you just repeat that from my understanding? And it felt amazing. It felt great. And I see you smiling right now
Yeah, yeah,
because you're feeling how amazing and great it was.
yeah,
That's three
absolutely.
months from now. You see how that works?
Yeah,
So when you put
yeah,
yourself in that place, how do you feel right now about this idea of speaking? Because now you feel amazing and great. How do you feel at this moment?
yeah. I feel good about it. I feel confident about it. I feel less concerned about those little tiny mistakes. It's not all gone, to be honest. I still think that there's going to be people on that call that are a lot better than me. Mm, it's going to take time to get over these kind of blocks that 10 out of 10 is more important, but generally it feels better. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's great. So what we did in this, 2 minutes is we illustrated the importance of the emotion.
Mm,
Again, what you're looking for truly is the emotion.
mm,
If you make a bunch of mistakes and you feel great, okay, cool. It's fine. If you make zero mistakes and you feel terrible, it was still a failure. So again, what we're looking for is the emotion. But we showed that in these 2 minutes, by focusing on who you are and focusing on the end of the meeting that already went well, you can feel that emotion and you can program that emotion today, 3 months early. And when you do that, then you approach the behaviors much differently. Oh, now I need to
mm,
study in this way. Oh, now I need to focus on this instead. Because we could focus so hard on memorizing the 74 and a half new vocabulary words that I have to use for this presentation.
mm,
And they may be important, or you could focus on, okay, what's the point that I'm trying to get across so that I can help these people, right? They're
mm,
listening to me because either I'm the leader or I'm the subject matter expert or whatever it is. I already have a place that puts these people in. Okay, great. I'm looking forward to learning from this person. Nobody
mm,
goes to this meeting and says, wow, Richard's been learning English and I'm sure he's going to be terrible. I'm going to look for all the
mm,
words that he's doing wrong, right?
mm,
People just don't plan to do
mm,
that. And I know our mind is worried about it. But again, if we can put ourselves, again, I'm repeating myself, but some of this is if we hear it enough, that helps us
mm,
reprogram because the inner critic has told us the same thing over and over and over. And so now we need enough positives to outweigh it. If we can
yeah,
flip it and say, nope, the meeting already happened, it was already successful. If I said some words wrong, that's okay. Nobody made fun of me. And if somebody asked me a question, that's okay. That was more clarity. Thank you for asking it. Maybe I can prepare a little joke to just make it a little lighter. Hey, thanks for
mm,
asking me. That's great. I've been practicing that word. Cool. Then people love you even more, right?
yeah,
So again, focusing on who you are makes you a fellow human being, and everybody
yeah.
loves that connection.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make about being a fellow human being, that authenticity, right? We're all just here learning and doing our best. And I think, as you said, injecting some humor into the situation. You know, I've been up all night studying that phrase, and I got it a little bit wrong, or making a joke about it, the Javier Bardem thing. You know, for me is
Right.
okay. I know I sound like the coolest guy in the bar with my accent. Like, let's make something nice and just that connection. You know, and sort of again with identity, just trying to step back a bit from that whole, you know, CEO role person you're supposed to be and just be you. Like you be you, I'll be me. And I think that connection is really powerful, Ben, you know. But I know
Yes.
we're coming to the end of our time together, but I wanted, before you go, certainly just to thank you so much for your time today and everything you've said. It resonates so much with me, certainly as a learner of a language myself. Literally, a year ago, if you'd have told me that I'd be recording conversations in Spanish, which I've been doing a lot this week for the podcast and putting them on the internet with my level of Castellano, I'd have said, "What? You're joking?" Like me, imposter syndrome, my self-perception of my Spanish was just through the floor. And actually, if I look at it and listen back to the recordings of me a year ago, it's probably the same. My Spanish level is actually technically, grammatically, is probably the same, but it's how I feel about it
Yes.
that's the difference now.
Yes.
I feel that I can do this. I feel that it's okay to say these things de vez en cuando con errores, con mi acento de británico. Like it's all right. Like it's okay. Actually, your accent, Richard, makes you look quite exotic. In the town where you live, when you go into
Yeah.
the carniceria, pescaderia, you're going out saying, "Hola, ¿qué tal?" It's unique. It makes you 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 know. And I wouldn't have thought that before. I thought you had to speak like a native. It's got to be perfect. So what you've said today and what you've shared is absolutely the message that I'm helping my clients with. So thank you so much for coming and what you've shared. Before we go, could you tell us a little bit about your book and where the listeners can find that and learn more about you?
Absolutely. And thank you, Richard. I just want to say heartfelt gratitude for having me on here. It's been a very enjoyable conversation and really with somebody who understands and resonates with the power of the message. It's been an honor to share it with you and your audience.
Yeah. No, it's a
So,
pleasure.
yes, the book, How We See Ourselves, can be found anywhere you can find a book. All right. There's 40,000 websites online, and hey, my book is everywhere. And so I do encourage you to get the book. It shares a lot of these stories. All of these principles are illustrated with stories. And then you have the Eden model again, and it walks you through it. It walks you through it in such a way that you can say, great, what's the result I'm looking for? Let me work through the Eden model in the proper way. And you'll have the same experience Richard just shared with us that says, yeah, I feel so much differently. And because I'm standing in a place of authenticity and confidence, people want that. People resonate with that. People say, I want what he has. And you'll become an inspiration because you're focusing on the right thing. When you can stand in that place of confidence, then you're in a place to confidently help others, focus on others, and make them feel important. And that makes a huge difference in the world.
Mm. Yeah. No, it's really well said. And I think what I've noticed literally these last few months is the power of the authenticity and actually me overcoming my limiting beliefs with what I'm saying, and not just with Spanish, Ben, but I've been developing this kind of coaching concept with my clients for years now, moving away from the grammar focused classes in English. I just wanted to let people speak, feel confident about themselves, let them know that I understood them. And what's happened with me over the last certainly year of building my content, recording the podcast, videos for YouTube and other social media channels, is that I've been really concerned with the reaction of what I'm saying. I have had this internal block of, because I'm saying to people, listen, de vez en cuando si cometer errores, no pasa nada. Like from time to time you make a mistake, it's okay, right? Lo importante es comunicarse. And because I've lived through that myself. I've spent years hiding in the shadows, going to parties, not speaking, being the silent, quiet guy in the corner, trapped in my own head, like a personality transplant, because of this block of, as you said in your Spanish classes when you were at school, Ben, if I can't get this conjugation right, I'm not going to say it. I don't want to say it wrong. And it's only been through working with a language coach myself, therapy, coaching, understanding how the thoughts, controlling the thoughts, and realizing that it's the story I'm telling myself about the reaction of how people are with what I'm saying, my Spanish. They may not be thinking that I'm stupid. They might be thinking that I'm got this thick accent. They're just their intention is to understand me. They just want to, as you said on the call in the meeting, they've come to that saying, "What's he going to say? And what's it benefiting me?" Like the little mistakes, they're not important. And so my doubts recently have been, what if I'm saying this online to everybody and they look at me and say, I don't want to work with Richard. He's going to send me into a meeting making loads of mistakes. Like what, why would I want that guy in my
Mhm.
corner? And I'm thinking, is this a reputation killer before I even start? If I'm going on camera going, Yeah, go and make a mistake in the meeting. That just fell down. There you go. I'll keep that in. That's a mistake. I'll keep that in. Whereas my perfectionist before, I would have chopped that out. You know, like done is better than perfect. That's my attitude right now.
Yes.
Consistent action, even though it's not perfect, whatever perfect means, is better. You'll get better. You'll see the improvement. Yes, we all want to improve. We all want to get better. We're the human animal. I'm all for that. I'm not saying, you know, my problem, Ben, was will they look like I'm selling inadequacy? Will they look like I'm promoting a place where people are just going to walk around incorrect? And this conversation I've had with you today and the last few weeks of me actually taking action and finally having the courage to put out this message, the reaction I've had has been so positive from people,
Mhm.
signing on several new clients as well to work with me. And it's been such a confidence booster, really has, you know. So I just want to thank you for coming today and I'm so pleased we align on this and hopefully in the future we can collaborate again and do something together because
Yeah,
I'm very excited about the future.
I'd love that. And congratulations on all that. Such a powerful story. And thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been and still is just an incredible time right now. I'm feeling amazing about the future. I really am. And now actually, not just focusing on the end goal, the end line, as you said, whatever that is, actually be in the process, live in the center of the flower as it's growing. It's not about the final goal. There's no line in the sand for this for me. It's like we're in it. Enjoy it, breathe it, live it.
Hmm.
Like you're in it, man. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
feeling, you know.
yeah. And the cool thing
Oh,
is, then people want that. They want that feeling.
mm,
Say, how do I get that? I have to work with Richard. So it's not just the
mm,
result. It's like, wow, how do I be like Richard? And that brings the following, brings whatever, but ultimately it gets the result that you want. So super cool.
yeah. Listen, thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna let you go. It's 7 a.m. for you, so go and get some breakfast, get yourself a coffee. It's 2 in the afternoon for me, so I'll get the merienda ready to go and get the girls. So it's been a wonderful conversation. Thanks so much, and we'll speak soon.